All right, Stochastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you from yet another location here in Florida. That's right. I am a multi landholder. Is that what it's called? A multi-property owner. I guess that makes me a real estate mogul down here. You know, me and DJT, we hang out a fair amount, though technically he's on the other side of Florida from me. So we don't cross that line of demarcation. But we're going to have a fun one tonight. Apologies for the technical difficulties. I should have a co-host here shortly, but we've got plenty of time to talk about this slate. So no worries on that. Things of note, oh my gosh, somehow the San Francisco 49ers lost? How did that happen? I thought they were comfortably ahead, and I see they've lost. And I see that Baltimore has managed to squander away their lead, and they are just hanging on, it looks like, against the Cowboys. 2 minutes to go there in that game. Ravens do have the ball, but yeah, the Rams ended up coming back here. Pour one out for most of your lineups and most of your survivor pools today. We'll have to see what's going on tonight. But fortunately, we do not have any gigantic earth-shattering issues other than what are we going to do because there's no Isaiah Pacheco. He suffered a lower leg fracture that could keep him out anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to the season. TBD on that. We have Atlanta inactives. Nobody surprising there. Same thing with Kansas City. So we're good to go. So let's kind of jump on in to all of the fun. Of course, we have key things that you want to know tonight are going to be what's up with Mahomes. He almost lost last week. That shouldn't happen to a Joe Burrow-led team. And then what the hell? Atlanta ended up winning on Monday Night Football, courtesy of Kirk Cousins. He, of the ruptured Achilles, managed to lead a game-winning drive, ended up going 70 plays with inside of the last 2 minutes there and ended up getting the win. So a lot of excitement all over the NFL. This is, I'm old enough to remember when home field advantage used to actually be a thing. I promise you guys, it was. No longer at this time. Obi-Wan, I see you are there. It is pronounced Young Wei Koo, not how you think it is. He's been in the league long enough that you should have this correct by now. So let's kind of take a peek here at our game, and then once Matt comes in, we will hear his thoughts, and then we've still got until 8:20 here for kickoff. So I want to thank everybody for coming on in as the games are winding down. Let me get my final notes page up here. Key things you want to know about tomorrow. There's Monday Night Mayhem. It's a doubleheader. We're going to sail you the whole seat, but you're only going to need the edge. 2 games going on tomorrow night. We're going to focus on tonight's game. You have the Chiefs, who are 3-point favorites here in Atlanta. We have an over-under, depending on the book that you were looking at, ranging between 45, I wish it was 55, 45 and a half to 46. So that will be kind of interesting. We want to highlight Rashid Rice. So Rashid was dealing with the potential suspension. So I don't think gamers have quite caught up to why there was uncertainty around him all draft season here. But that was because he had a suspension pending. So unlike Hollywood Brown, who had that injury, and now he's ultimately ruled out for the rest of the season after suffering that shoulder, the AC joint injury there in the preseason opener, we've got Rashid Rice looking like a potential captain tonight. For those of you looking for a little team free money, I went 1-64 in my DraftKings main slate head-to-heads today. I beat one person. 64 people beat me. There's some EMac username in the DK lobby. It is the head-to-heads $1 here for Showdown. Check those out. So what you want to know for me is Rashid Rice is standing out as my favorite captain option or my favorite multiplier option on DraftKings because we get
I'm here with you.
PPR. There's a little bit of uncertainty there as to how the running back workload is going to be dispersed. Matt and I will break that down. And of course, Travis Kelce still playing 90% of the snaps, has only a handful of targets each game, did miss out on, I think he had a close touchdown that ended up not quite coming to fruition. And then I think he had like a 30 or 40 yard reception that was called back for penalty. If either of those had happened, we would not be having the same conversation. We will be shortly tonight. But Matt, welcome to the show. Glad you're here. Let's get your take. Basically, I was just sort of talking about how I think Rashid Rice is the actual best multiplier or best option in the multiplier slot on DraftKings tonight, because I think that's where you consolidate the offense. Because the last thing I didn't say is Mahomes, while he's nimble in the pocket, he only averages about 20 yards rushing per game. So he is going to maintain his health at all costs, because he has a chance for a three-peat here. What do you think? Kansas City side, who do you think is your favorite captain? And then we can break down the backfield.
So first off, for most other people, I'd feel very bad. But for you, I know you understand the art of technical difficulties. And that's what we're dealing with over here. My computer.
Poster child here.
Yeah.
You need to get off my street corner, man. That's my territory.
Trust me. I'm trying to get off. Trust me. My computer not acting friendly today. It is what it is. I'm glad to be here with you. As far as my favorite captain from KC, I think it's got to be Rice. Has established himself as the clear number one guy there. Kelsey has made it known that, not that he's saving up for the playoffs, but he's certainly knows that this Chiefs team is going to win its fair share of games to get in the playoffs, and that's when it's most needed. So Rice is the guy during the regular season, at least. And, where they're priced, I still think Rice is a little bit too cheap. I think he's the best captain from the KC side.
All right, let's talk about Mahomes here. So the key things we want to remember about Mahomes, I mean, he's an actual real life wizard, kind of in that Harry Potter category here. This is going to be the second of 5 primetime games for Kansas City this season. This also doesn't count, I forget if it's a Saturday or a Sunday slate, where there's 2 games and they're the afternoon game. So technically not prime time, but we're going to get another featured slate here with Mahomes. It's his salary. He needs multiple touchdowns. And unless it's touchdowns, and he's not one to lock on to any particular receiver, especially now that there's no more Tyreek Hill, I don't think any of his receivers are going to get multiple touchdowns. Yeah, everybody up to and including Noah Gray is live for multiple touchdowns tonight. Come on, Patrick Mahomes is their quarterback, but I think he's going to be dispersing things tonight. So that, to me, knocks him down a peg there. And then we get just a lot of question marks outside of Rice in the receiving game. We don't really know what to expect from Xavier Worthy. He had 2 touchdowns in the first game, including a 21-yard carry, but the volume isn't necessarily going to be there. Now, the last game was a bit of a kerfluffle with Kansas City not winning until basically, I think it was actually the final play of the game when they kicked a field goal there, as they almost lost to the Cincinnati Bungles, who, survive in Burrowhead. We were joking about that, Matt, but yikes, it looked like it almost came to fruition here. So we are really interested in just one aspect of the passing game, and it's really not Mahomes in this one. Let's branch out into the backfield here. So we have obviously Isaiah Pacheco's out. People forget Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He is on. He has some PTSD issues, I'm assuming, from an injury or just pressures of the NFL, which I can only imagine. So he was placed on the injured reserve. He's not eligible to come back for 2 more weeks here. So that's going to leave undrafted free agent rookie Carson Steele and Samaje Perine. So Perine was drafted back in the 2017 season by the Washington Commanders. They were playing under a different name at that point, but he actually led the team in rushing his first season. I think he had about 600 or 700 yards. You know who his teammates were? I looked this up because I needed to know. Chris Thompson, okay, I kind of vaguely remember him. Robert Kelly, do not remember that guy. Capri Bibbs, I remember the name. Couldn't have told you at what point he played in the NFL, remember it from college. And then Byron Marshall, it's like, well, somebody with 2 first names, right? We got to like him. But really, Chris Thompson, Robert Kelly, Capri Bibbs, and Byron Marshall. The hell? So Terrell Pryor was also a receiver on that team. Yeah, Perine's a decent pass catcher. He can adequately run. He is a really good pass protector, which is interesting because in college he was more of a runner, but that was a gazillion years at Oklahoma. So he's our kind of new guy. And then you have Carson Steele, who was a 5-year college player, transferred after 3 seasons with Ball State, went to UCLA, was undrafted. I think it was UCLA. Let me get my notes here. He went to UCLA. He had 1,000 yards in his final season there and 8 touchdowns. So two things going for him. One, he has really long blonde hair, or at least he did in college. I'm assuming he still does now.
He transferred from Ball State, I'm pretty sure.
He moved from Ball State, and he is incredibly strong. So he's like 6'1" or 6'2". He's like the new version of Kyle Juszczyk. He's a tiny bit faster, probably a little bit weight room stronger, and a little bit better of a runner, a little bit better of a receiver, but he's a rookie. So those are our 2 options. But why are we talking about them? Because you got to remember Derek Gore. If you guys remember, 3 or 4 years ago, Monday Night Football against the Giants, Derek Gore came out of nowhere. 11 carries, most of them in the first half, most of them on one drive, 48 yards and a touchdown. Melted down the Showdown slate because I think he was a $200 player. Most people did not even have him projected for any touches. That's the Andy Reid special. My point is, before I turn it back over to you, Reid's not going to play favorites with veterans. He loves to be tricky on offense, and he really has 2 options tonight. What say you, Matt? You play them both on the same team or same roster? I have no issues with that.
No, I mean, Showdown slates are the slates to get weird. Like on a full slate, I would never do that. But on this slate, if they both happen to score, then you're probably going to need them. And it's a good way to get different. I think I prefer Steele just based off current talent level alone, although hard to love either of them because I do think Perine comes in on clear passing situations. He's a good pass blocker. I'm sure they trust him in protection more than Steele. So it's hard to trust either of them, knowing that Andy Reid said Steele is going to get, first crack at leading the backfield. Hard not to like Steele a little bit more. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco came from nowhere and turned into, a really good runner in this system. So who's to say Steele couldn't? I do think that because Andy Reid said that, the ownership will flock to him though more. So Perine is an interesting look to get different. And while I think Steele has a better opportunity to score, I trust Perine more in the passing game. So it's close. And I do think playing them both together is viable. The biggest issue I have with that is just the opportunity cost of not rostering other players on this slate and doing that. There's a lot of guys on the Atlanta side I want to get to.
Exactly. And that's what's making this one really interesting. And the NFL, they always joke here. I think it was Jerry Glanville that used to say NFL stands not for long. I mean, just look at today's scoreboard. Well, we've seen carnage across survivor pools, right? Home teams losing, underdogs just carrying the day, regardless of whether they're at home or the road. You have the Cowboys looking amazing in week 1, getting boat raced by New Orleans, and then the Ravens, who were 0-2, including losing to the Raiders. They end up beating the Cowboys today, but the Raiders lose to Carolina, who benched their number 1 overall pick and put dusty old Andy Dalton out there, who suddenly was able to move this offense, whereas the shiny new lead guy wasn't able to at all. And Dalton's going to be 37 next month. What the hell? The chaos is just, it's NFL. It terrifies me, Matt. It's like everything is a showdown slate now, meaning just anything can happen. Again, I lost one. I went 1-64 in my head-to-heads on DraftKings like today. How did that? Rashid Shaheed had no points. He was awesome the first 2 games. I carried a donut in my cash game lineup. What the hell? So that means chaos. Chaos reigns. How are we going to harness that tonight? So we got the 2 backfield options here. We know that Kelsey is playing on 90, 70, 80, 90% of the snaps, not a lot of touches. You have Noah Gray, who got that 3-year, $18 million deal this offseason. He is playing on a little over half the targets. And then they drafted a guy out of, I think it was Iowa, in the 4th or 5th round, who's sort of the later heir apparent. He was a 5-year college player, showed enough, had some decent touchdown equity in college. Another guy who bounced around between two different schools there, but it doesn't mean Kelsey's a for sure. Noah Gray is not cheap, but these guys at least are more familiar as pass catchers than about half the receivers, and the half the receivers that have familiarity Mecole Hardman has played 1 or 2 snaps on offense this year. He's the return guy, but that's it. They brought him back from New York last year. You have Butterfingers still on the roster. Sky Moore, he'll be lucky to see the field. And then somehow Juju Smith-Schuster got a red zone look. I think it was even, if I remember, what was that, the first game? He had one in the touchdown, or it looked like a touchdown that he didn't catch. Those are their options. What are you doing with the pass catchers here? Circle back, rank them for us here.
You're talking about for Kansas
Chiefs.
City.
Yeah.
So as far as the pass catchers go, if I'm ranking them, got to be Rice first. Still Kelsey second, because him and Worthy are like the same price. Worthy's been priced up. Kelsey hasn't been priced down, but he's not at like peak Kelsey price. In any game, he could go off. So for me, it's Rice, Kelsey, then Worthy. Then there isn't really anyone else. Perine, I guess. I mean, the big problem with this slate is there aren't really cheap guys to roster. I guess Noah Gray looks like the cheapest viable. But I mean, we know who Noah Gray is. It's not like he's exciting. He's getting some ownership and he has a 10% chance of being optimal because he's cheap. So he'd be like my favorite cheap guy, if that's what you're asking me.
Yeah, and it all comes down to carrying that heavy red zone equity or end zone equity, touchdown equity, if you will, from Mahomes. Again, chaos. We're looking at a 2-time defending Super Bowl champions, and we're saying their offense is chaos. It's a whole new world out there, everybody. Whew, it's pretty crazy. Israel Williams, IDub, I see you there. He is saying that there's going to be a major breakup between Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, perhaps as soon as this week. Yikes. Hopefully that's not weighing on his mind right now. It's always dangerous when you're dating a superstar. Reminds me of the Alex Rodriguez, Jose Canseco with Madonna. You guys, nobody's going to remember that except me. But in any event, Taylor Swift could actually have surpassed Madonna. Madonna just didn't. What Madonna did without social media was pretty impressive. What Madonna does now with social media in her 60s, it's still pretty impressive, but Taylor Swift probably bigger. Back to reality here. Anything else you want to mention from the Chiefs? And we'll talk some lineup structure here once we get through the Atlanta side.
Not really. The nice thing about Kansas City is they have a pretty concentrated route tree, and we know where the ball's going to, especially with Hollywood Brown not playing. So it's Rice, Kelsey, Worthy, and the running backs. I mean, that's really all you're looking at. And then certainly you can play Noah Gray because he's the most the cheapest viable guy on the board at 2,600.
All right. So key things we want to know about Atlanta. So Kirk Cousins on another primetime game didn't seem to bother him on Monday, getting that surprise victory. He also looked much better than he did in the opener. Remember, he's coming off that ruptured Achilles tendon. He did have quite a few snaps under center, which allowed the team to go back to play action pass, which is something that is important in the NFL, because if anytime you can freeze those linebackers for even half a second, you've got a better chance of getting somebody open, either because you're running and they're not coming forward, or you're going out to one of the flats and they're not taking that extra step out there. So that is much needed here. Kansas City had a really good defense last year that should sort of carry over this year. I mean, they were roughed up a little bit by the Ravens, but I don't think Cousins is going to have the deep threat on them by any stretch. No surprise there. The other thing that we want to remember is he's going to be working the short routes, so that could take out a lot of any potential upside for like a Drake London or even a Kyle Pitts. Do you trust Cousins? And who do you think benefits from Captain Check down tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust Cousins to put up a monster score, but I trust him if he has time in the pocket. And the guy you just mentioned, I like Kyle Pitts a lot here. I think he's going to be looking his way quite a bit. The whole passing game for Atlanta looks good. And then, I include Bijan Robinson in there just because he's phenomenal and going to be the best, raw points projected player on pretty much every slate he's on. Today is no different. So a lot to like on the Atlanta side. I like the Atlanta side more than the KC side. Maybe that's to my detriment. We'll see.
Right. Oh, I'm excited about that. I'm also excited about Bet365. They're not in Florida. Only one sports wagering platform in Florida because, monopolies are king down here. But if you are in Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Virginia, Iowa, Colorado, Louisiana, Indiana, Arizona, North Carolina, or Pennsylvania, you guys can get a Bet5, win 200 in bonus bets. Doesn't matter if your bet wins or loses. All it's got to do is settle and be a $5 bet, and you're going to get $200 in bonus credits. That is by going through the link below us here. Again, Bet365. If you have not signed up yet, this is one of the best active promotions out there amongst the sports wagering sites. So you like Atlanta a little bit better. Is it the receivers? Is it the new coach? Is it the running game? What is it that has you leaning towards Atlanta?
I just think they're more talented offensively than Kansas City.
Who's won the last 2 Super Bowls?
Yeah, I mean,
who's a 3-time MVP? Who has
I do
2
not
Super
think
Bowl MVP? I'm just
I don't think that Atlanta's as good of a team as Kansas City, but I think that they have better offensive weapons on paper than Kansas City does. Especially with Travis Kelce, iffy during the regular season. I mean, it's close, but I like London. I like Pitts. They signed a couple guys in the offseason, Ray McLeod and Mooney, who we've seen contribute. And it's mostly just Bijan Robinson. I mean, he is so good. Really hard fade on any slate he's on. Now, whether you want to captain him or not, that's another question. But as far as playing him or not, I can't see if I were playing one lineup, let's say, not playing him.
No, and he was the other guy that warranted the potential of being in the multiplier slot on DraftKings. I think you could probably give him the nod on FanDuel, and that's because it's half PPR over there. So the full PPR is really a big difference maker. I mean, no, it's only half a point. It's between that, the scoring floor, the having to pay 1.5 tax on the multiplier on DraftKings. That just all lines up to try to either go with one of the quarterbacks or a PPR person, be it a running back, which Bijan is, or in this case tonight, I think Rashid Rice is probably your best option. When you look at, you mentioned Ray McLeod. So if we'd only really known that this was going to happen, that he was going to just become a featured part of this offense once Rondale Moore went down in early August with that season-ending injury, it made sense. You now have Darnell Mooney, who is also playing a ton of snaps. So here's Drake London is the easiest. He has not been on the field for 2 offensive plays this year. Mooney has been off the field for 3 offensive plays. Ray McLeod, 57% in the opener. He played every offensive snap in the last game. This is nuts. So you know which 3 receivers are going to be on the field. Kaderil Hodge, basically, what he has, like 6 snaps or 5 snaps, something like that. That's it. Sorry, friend. You need someone to lose their helmet, need a bathroom break, or get hurt. Otherwise, you're not going to be on the field. So very concentrated offense. We've seen Drake London in the first game. He kind of lost out a little bit because Cousins was semi-tentative, and that led to Mooney and especially Ray McLeod getting a lot of dump offs. So they made some adjustments in the second game. We're working some of the medium routes. That's where Drake London was getting his love there. I think that's going to continue to be the case. And we've seen Kyle Pitts, God, fantasy darling forever, was so good his rookie season. Not the best blocker, not the best pass catcher, freakish athlete, but he may not be the NFL fantasy tight end we were all hoping for, which leads things back to these receivers. Do you like Kyle Pitts and rank the receivers counting price or taking into account price?
Yeah, I do like Kyle Pitts when you take into consideration his price and just the fact that I think he's going to get a lot of targets tonight. He's hard to trust, but I think his upside is real in this spot. So yeah, I'm in on Kyle Pitts here. He's my, price considered favorite Atlanta pass catcher.
Okay. And it also that comes down to his popularity, right? So Chalk Donkey, full card carrying member of the Chalk Donkey Club here is sort of where I stand. We went from all offseason drafting Kyle Pitts in best ball and fantasy draft. Yes, Atlanta's going to play faster. No more Arthur Smith. Raheem Morris is their coach. So it's going to change everything. And then week one, oh my God, it's going to happen. Kyle Pitts has a career best plays and routes run, participation rate and number of routes run. And then last week, it all kind of falls apart. This is kind of back for that not for long. We don't have enough of a trend yet to know for sure. Is he good? Is he bad? Was last week the outlier? Or is it just a continuation of what we've seen for the last 2 years? He is in his 4th year, so we're excluding that rookie season. So that's kind of interesting there as well. Who's his backups? Well, it's not his backups that are getting any love either. It's 2 former 49ers. Charlie Warner and Ross Dwelley both came over this year. Dwelley's played in 2 snaps each of the first 2 games. Warner has played about 40 snaps, right around upper teens in the last game and just over 20 in the game prior to that. I think he has 2 or 3 targets. Both of them came in the opener. So things aren't really going to those guys. Pitts is the main guy when it comes to tight end options, but it looks like he could be behind all 3 receivers. Excuse me, have the hiccups now, who never leave the field. Bijan Robinson is the guy let's circle back to. He's going to play a ton, 89% of the snaps in the first game, 75% on Monday Night Football. So it went down a little bit. Last year, over the last 10 games, he averaged about 70% participation rate. He had a couple games in the low 60s and then a couple, in the upper 70s. So I kind of averaged him out to that 70% rate there. He has five targets in each of the first 2 games. So I think that is really nice to see. He hasn't scored yet, but he did have 32 carries for 165 yards. That's 5.2 yards per carry. That's really good as well. And then Tyler Algier, while he is the backup, he's only going to play about 20% of the time. I still, when he's out there, they tend to, it's a tough 2-game trajectory, hard to do this, but he tends to get the ball. Remember, he was the leading rusher his rookie year. He's a 4th or 5th rounder, so not a lot of draft capital in him, but he's a capable runner. He's a capable receiver. But it does look like I think they're going to lean on him a little more than they have. It's probably going to settle into like a 65-35. He's going to get some of the between the 20s work when they're giving Bijan a bit of a rest. But all the crucial touches are going to go to Robinson. But that is interesting with Tyler Algier. And then similar to their receiving core, Avery Williams has been on the field for 2 plays. He is returning punts, I believe, but he's the only other running back who has seen the field. So that's a pretty compressed 2-man show there. So all of a sudden you're like, oh, EMac, you're talking bad about Algier. No, he's the only one that's probably going to get touches. If there's about 35 touches that go to running backs every game, he's in line for almost 10 as a baseline. Between the 20s, less equity in some of those touches. There's still touches on a showdown slate, though. Anything you want to add to the running backs, and I'll round out kickers and defense, and then we can talk about strategy.
No, I think your last point was well taken. Like touches on a showdown slate. Is he great? Is he going to be extremely efficient with his touches? Probably not. But if those touches happen to happen in the goal line or whatever, like you're going to need him, and he's going to be on the field getting guaranteed touches. So I'm with you there. Like I don't love him, but totally fine with him, especially in a lineup you don't play Bijan. I mean, I like him more there. You can certainly play them together at Algier's price, but if you are for some crazy reason fading Bijan, I think Algier makes a lot of sense.
All right. So for those of you that want to get some team free money, that is some sweet, sweet, sweet EMac dollars, go to the DK lobby, username EMac, $1 head-to-heads. I am not playing quarterback in my lineup tonight. I still have about 8 head-to-heads that have not been scooped up yet. I have an approximate 15% win rate in my showdown head-to-heads, and today I went 1 for 64 on DK main slate. This is the money machine here. This is the kid throwing the money out the window. Come get these EMac bucks. Come get these EMac bucks. And the bet $365 through the link below us here in the YouTube description, which will also get you $200 in bet 365 bets if you make a $5 wager, win or lose. If you or anybody you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Kickers. So we have Younghoe Koo. I know it's fun to say the alternate pronunciation for his name, but it is Younghoe Koo. He has not so much the leg, not so much from 50 and beyond. Actually, kind of bad in today's NFL. 10 of 17 from his last on his dating back to the last 2 seasons from beyond 50. However, for his career, this is his 7th season. For his career, he has made 97.8% of his field goals inside of 40 yards. And he is, where are my notes? He has made 80% of his 50 opportunities between the 40 and the 49 yards range. Beyond 50, no bueno. Anything else, automatic. I believe he has just missed like 3 extra points in the last 2 years, something crazy like that. You also have Harrison Butker on the other side. Remember, he kicks outdoors the vast majority of his career games because he plays in Kansas City. Just got that big contract this offseason. Last year, he made all 5 of his attempts from beyond 50. The prior season, he missed 4 of his 7 attempts. Still got that big contract. He is also pretty good inside of 45 yards, close to an 85% conversion rate. So these guys are good. They don't have quite the leg that we're seeing on some of the other kickers. Butker probably does, but again, kicking outside doesn't help him. Obviously, we're in a dome tonight, unfamiliar dome, but a dome nonetheless. So that should bode well for him. He has only missed 5 of his last 133 point after touchdowns. That's a 96.2%. Like league average is like 93. Because of the way they've changed the rules, moved the where that is, etc. So it's no longer the gimme. It is kind of for him. On defense, we look at the Chiefs. They don't have an interception yet. They do have 2 fumble recoveries. Atlanta has 3 turnovers in the first 2 games. Hard to look at last year because, of course, we have new head coach, new quarterback. So can't really look at last year's trends, but it's about average. And then when we look at the Falcons here, we want to think about Mahomes. Mahomes usually has a historically low sack rate and low interception rate. That has not been the case so far. He has 4 sacks already and 3 interceptions. So I can't remember, I haven't looked in a while, but at one point he was the active leader in interception rate for those with more than 10,000 pass attempts or whatever it was. But he only had like a 1.8% interception rate. That is 5.7 this year. Again, small sample size, but we saw him have some lapses last year as well, even when he was not hurt. So it's Showdown. Their defenses, one splash play can get them there. Let's talk some strategy. We have 10 minutes here before kickoffs. Fortunately, I have got my sims loaded, or I haven't got them loaded, but I've got them already run here. I kind of like what I'm seeing. I'm just going to make a couple tweaks and I'm going to upload these lineups here, Matt. Who are you terrified of not having tonight? And you're on mute.
I am on mute. I'm not anymore.
Technical difficulties.
I'm not on mute anymore. Yeah, sorry. Probably Rashid Rice. I mean, he's my favorite guy from KC, but he's expensive. AJ Terrell, most likely on him all game. I'm gonna kind of zag while everyone else digs. Just a pricing for me. I think Bijan, the quarterbacks are higher priorities.
All right. I love it. All my head-to-heads have been scooped. I might as well be a no-badge player at this point, everybody. You should just be grabbing anything I post on any site. For me, it's actually going to be Bijan, only because I've made the decision to go relatively heavy on Rice, but those are my top 2 guys in this one. The other one that is concerning me a little bit, I seem to be less in favor of Kyle Pitts than you are, but I'm spreading it out more across the 3 wide receivers, or his teammates, I should say. Does that seem like a viable strategy, or you feel more comfortable going with the tight end with less popularity?
Yeah, I mean, I like Pitts, but again, I just think he's going to be low owned, especially at the captain spot. So from a projection basis, I'm kind of with you.
Right, let me see where my numbers came out here. We got 8 minutes to go here. So if we look at Bijan, I'm 10% above the field in the captain slot for Rice. I'm of course playing him in my head-to-head lineup. I'm 4% above the field. So I'm going to tweak that just a little bit. I'm going to take Robinson down just a tick, and I'm going to put Rice up just a little bit because I'd like to have Rice. These guys are going to end up being on about 40% of my rosters as the guy in the multiplier slot. Normally, I do not go as heavy as that, but I feel pretty strongly about that tonight. But again, I'm on a horrid losing streak. So use that information as you see fit. Here, I do like both kickers being indoors. I am indifferent to the defenses. And then for the running backs, I am leaning towards Steele ever so slightly. But I have plenty of Perine. Let's see here. So Perine, how many lineups? I have them on this type his name in 10% of my lineups. I have them both. It'll be a little higher than I thought.
Yeah, I respect that. It's really hard to know what Casey's going to do with that situation before we see it.
Yeah. Let me go back and see how this changed. I'm not quite as efficient on that. So one last look here, and then I'll load these and I will get some questions out there. So damn it. I ended up pushing Rice and Mahomes up. So basically I've got 19% Robinson. I'm sorry, that's the wrong column. 26% Robinson, 31% Holmes, and 24% Rice. I'm going to drop Holmes just a touch, Mahomes that is, and I want to get Rice a little bit because I am going to be greedy. And then we are going to go with whatever happens here. Okay, download 150. And then we will upload. Have you been playing around with the single lineup sims at all?
Yeah, a little bit.
What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I know you like to take the beautiful mind approach, and you're kind of, if I remember correctly, you use various tools to help you, but ultimately you end up making the decisions on your own. How do you feel about this single lineup sim?
I like it a lot. Like every time I've messed around with it, I think it's given me really good lineups, and that's all that matters. So I would definitely recommend it.
All right. I want to see where I am on the kickers. Butker, 25%, and Younghoe Koo. I am at 12%. I gotta make one more tweak there because it ain't Koo to not have enough Koo. There we go. All right. And let's do that. Let's unfavorite. Let's favorite. And we are going with the old Vaya con Dios play here. Jordan, thank you for not putting up a poll asking if my lineups were going to make it tonight. Appreciate that. You just don't think it's going to happen, huh? All right. Well, there is always a chance that I did this on Yahoo today. I overwrote the contest identifier column when I went to upload them, and that caused some problems. But let me get these in here and we will see what Chad is up to other than laughing at me. We are good to go here. I'd like to congratulate everybody who got some of my head-to-heads tonight. You're going to win. Let's see what we have here. Is Casey Washington on the active roster? I don't think he has a single snap yet. He could be active, but I don't think he will see the field today unless it is on special teams. Kirk or Rice, who would you prefer to be over the field on more? For me, it was going to be Rice. I don't have many issues with Cousins, just, mid-30s quarterbacks coming off an Achilles tear that don't always play well on prime time. I mean, there's a few ticks against that. Obi-Wan, yes. Jordan didn't broadcast live. See, Mike, well, Jordan producer is the best producer named Jordan Klein. Producer Mike is way better at sharing his camera and microphone and audio with the audience. All Jordan was doing was telling me how awesome I am. He's gonna say he was insulting me, but he really wasn't. He's scared of me.
He knows that's untrue.
What do we think about the over on tonight's game? I would lean a little bit towards the under. I think it's at what did it end up being? 47 last time I saw 46. I would take the under.
I don't really have a strong feeling towards the total. If I were betting the total, I would bet the under. I rarely bet overs, but that's kind of the contrarian side of me. I don't bet totals that much anymore. So if I were, I'd bet the under with you. But now that I hear you're on it, there's no way I would bet it. So.
Well, now I don't have my phone, which is the only way I can bet when I'm on a Zoom call here. I don't know what I did with it. So I will not be taking advantage of that. Actually, I'm going to see if I can grab it. I think it's on the bet over there behind me. What
I do kind of like the Falcons to win this game, though.
Really? Back to back?
Yeah, I mean, this game is just so much bigger for Atlanta than Kansas City. Now, that doesn't mean anything. Could mean that Atlanta's nervous and KC has been there before, and they're certainly the better team. Like, if this were a playoff game, there's no way I'd think Atlanta would win this game. But it's not. It's week 3. Atlanta's feeling good about themselves. I think their defense is kind of good. I don't think it's great, but I like some of the additions they made. You know, I talked about AJ Terrell already, but like Judon is good. I don't know. I think that team is decent, and maybe they don't win the game, but it's close if nothing else. I mean, Kansas City's played a couple really tight games so far to start the season, and they've both been at home. So now they're finally on the road. No Pacheco. Like, we'll see. I'm sure Mahomes will do whatever he needs to do to get them this W, but I don't know. It kind of reminds, like, they lose games like this. Like, they're not a lot of them, but I remember they lost in Indianapolis a couple years ago when Matt Ryan was the quarterback to a team that wasn't great but was decent. Kind of view this as a similar spot. Yeah, so that's kind of why I like the Atlanta side a little bit more.
All right. Here's a bet. Plus 500, Rashid Rice, 50+ yards receiving in each half. Sure, let's put $50 on that. And I'm making the Matt Belman special here. I did Kyle Pitts 70 yards receiving or a touchdown.
I love that.
Plus 135.
Hey, it's like that GIF though. It's like that meme with the girl. Why not both?
Why not both? You know, I can root from these wagers. I've got DFS. I may not financially recover from today's main slate because my tournament lineups did not do well. At least I broke even on baseball. But I fell outside the top 5 on the Yahoo contest. I'm down to 10th, Matt. That hurts. That hurts.
Well, at least you'll be glad to hear. My season-long baseball league is in its last day. And for me, I'm in a slight lead, and it's coming down to a Zach Wheeler start for me. So,
hey, at least you can watch it. I know what you're going to be watching tonight. And of course, when I send Matt a note in the 3rd quarter and say, "Damn it, I didn't make it till the 4th quarter tonight," I'll hear back the next morning because he'll say, "Neither did I." He's already
neither did I. That's for sure. But if Pitts scores 2 touchdowns, I'll watch after that.
Okay, fair enough. One last reminder, since I didn't get it in, you guys get the Stochastic Hall of Fame option here. You can now win up to 2 times per year. If you go to stochastic.com, the homepage, in the upper right, you will see the social tab. If you hover over that, you can see the Stochastic avatar promotion. And as if you were watching the earlier show today, you got to see Lofty induct some more people into the Hall of Fame. So check that out. If you have questions about that Stochastic contest, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or in the Discord. Melissa, actually, I think she's probably watching. Melissa Harvey ended up winning a month last week with her takedown of the 20 max $1 contest on DraftKings. But with that, we are going to get on out of here. You guys can follow Matt on Twitter at Fantasy Tips Matt. I am at EMac DFS. And of course, it is stochastic_COM. With that, gamers and producer Jordan Klein, good luck.